you want to be a developer. I get it. You're seeing the TikToks, the LinkedIn posts, the dream jobs at Google. It sounds cool. You're seeing the 6-figure salary, work from home, build something out of nothing, impact the world in a very significant way through your code. Everything sounds amazing. I get it. But there's a lot of things that you don't get to hear about being a developer. Almost 10 years ago, I was very curious, eager to learn, and I was very excited about being a software engineer. That I went to the university to actually study computer engineering just so that I could become a software engineer at the end of the day. But then in this video, I'm going to be telling you about how to become a developer if you want to become one, the mistakes that I made, the pitfalls that nobody talks about, and I'll share tips that will help you pivot your developer career just in case you are considering getting to it. And of course, you're going to also know if you should just give up on being a developer and find another career path. So the very first tip I'm going to be sharing about how you can become a developer is to decide on what kind of developer you would like to be. So think about it. Why do you want to be a developer? Now forget the why. What kind of developer do you see yourself becoming? Do you want to build games, websites, AI, and AI related tools? Do you like data? Do you want to work with data? Think about it, and don't just think about it. Also do your research. Go into Google and searching different kinds of developers, how much they earn, check skill sets required. Just do your comparative analysis between the different types of development career paths that exist, and then choose one. Just in case you are confused on which one to choose, I have a very simple advice, which is pick one of them and start with it. It sounds very simple, but yeah, along the way you're going to decide if that is what you want to do in the long run or not. Now, how do you pick one of them and start with it? I know you're probably asking that question. So what you can do is actually find a project to build in that particular aspect. And when I say build a project, there are a lot of tutorials, courses that are online about those different parts. So for example, you decided that, you wanted to do web development. You can actually find a course or a tutorial that shows you how to build a simple calculator app with web development. Or maybe, for example, you want to do gaming, how to build your very first game for beginners. Follow that tutorial, try to do it yourself, and see if you like it. If you don't like it, check out for other kinds or other areas of development and explore. Now, why am I asking you to build stuff from the very first day? I don't want you to waste your time. I don't want you to learn. The second thing you need to know before you become a developer, or why you are trying to become a developer, is that you need to now learn the skill sets that you need. Apart from learning the programming languages that are attached to that skills, there is a very particular skill that every developer needs to have, and that is problem solving skills. I don't care how many years of experience you have in tech. I don't care whether you're a beginner, but see, if you don't have these problem solving skills, you will not be able to compete in the market, because learning programming languages is not enough. Languages are just tool sets that you use to solve a problem. So before you run off and start thinking of, I want to solve a problem, I want to learn a new language, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, ensure that you're also consciously building your problem solving skills. So how can you do that? First off, check the languages that are needed for that particular part. So start from there. Now, usually all of those languages have common similarities, common fundamentals. So whether it's JavaScript, Python, C++, they have common fundamentals. Things like variables, data types, functions, methods. Learn all of those things for that particular thing you want to learn. So let me use web development for example. Now that you said, you want to do web development, learn the languages that you need to learn as a web developer and start learning them one by one. Now, after you've learned it, the next thing you need to do is to apply all of those things that you've learned into solving a real problem. Use it to build something that can solve a problem. And when I talk about solving a problem, it doesn't have to be very complex. It could be maybe something that generates codes. It could be something that calculates. When I was learning web development, I built a lot of amazing stuff. Sorry, I'm not trying to brag, but then I remember building something to calculate my size as a lady. You know, there are medium, there's medium, there's large, there's extra large. So I had this calculator that I built. It was a calculator, quite alright, but I didn't just want to build a calculator. I decided to build something that could measure my size as a lady. So if you put in your different measurements, your different body measurements, it's going to tell you your size. Now that is problem solving being applied here. Another example of something I built trying to solve a problem was I built a food website. Now I love food and I love to cook when I can. But that first 3 weeks, after that first 3 weeks of learning web development, with the HTML and CSS I learned, I actually built a food website that was very delicious. I wish you could see it. It was actually very delicious looking, and it was, I think it was for a company, or whether it was to showcase different kinds of food. I can't remember, but yeah, that is what I mean by problem solving. It doesn't have to be something like go to the moon. Those little things. Find something that helps you think. Build something out of the box, not necessarily out of the box, but just ensure that you're not just learning the languages for learning sake. So imagine you're building an app, and then all of a sudden something crashes. What do? You Google, you try to search for the solutions, you try to do different fix. That is also an aspect of problem solving. So like I said, it doesn't have to be something out of the box. It doesn't have to be something that everybody will be opening their mouth and say, no, it doesn't have to be that. So just intentionally cultivate that skill of problem solving, okay? The third tip in this particular video is going to be choosing the right tools. So now you know what you want to do in tech as a developer, you know the skills that you need to have. The next thing is the tools that you need to have. Now the very first tool that you should consider learning to use is version control. Now what is version control? This is just a way for you to save different versions of your code at different times, so that in case you need to go back to a previous version, you're able to go back to retrieve a previous version. Why is this important? Because if something happens to your laptop, let's say your laptop was stolen, God forbid, or let's say your laptop crashes, or maybe something happens and you mistakenly deleted the code from your computer, you want to be able to get back the most recent version, and that is where version control comes in. Another good use of version control is when it comes to collaboration. So when you're going to be working with several people, like in a big team, you're not just going to be sending your code as a file. You want to push it on the internet where everybody can have access to it. Now that is another aspect of version control. Now very popular version control systems are Git and GitHub. Now Git is for a local computer, while GitHub is a web tool that you can actually use to connect to Git on your local computer. So with Git and GitHub, you're able to share files, you're able to save your files on the internet, so that if anything happens, your code is safe. So remember that food website I told you that I built? Something happened and I lost it. I can't remember exactly what happened to my PC, but I shall remember that I lost all the files on that system. Like all the files were deleted, and I lost that website because of that. I couldn't retrieve it. So imagine if I had saved it on GitHub. After the crash happened, I would have just retrieved it and my website is back on my laptop. Oh yeah, I lost it forever. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to experience that. So please ensure that as you're learning to write code, as you're building those projects, save them on GitHub. It must not be GitHub. There are also other tools like GitLab and the rest. Just find something that works for you and use it. Learn version control early. It will save you from a lot of headache. Second thing I want to talk about under the tools are your code editors. You don't need to have multiple code editors, you just need one code editor. Let's talk about a secret formula that is not really a secret, but I want to share with you because you said you want to be a developer. Now, this formula is the build, break, and learn recipes. The whole point is the fastest way to learn how to code is to actually build stuff. You're going to hear it a lot. It's not cliche, it's the truth. So rather than you going through tutorial hell, now tutorial hell is just an ideology. I don't know where it originated from. It's like a concept explaining that process of you going through tutorials over and over and over again without finally getting to that point where you know enough to stop learning. So you're just stuck in that circle of learning. That is tutorial hell. Now a lot of people come into saying that they want to be developers and they find themselves stuck in that. So they're not making any progress. They're just learning. So you notice that you've done like 700 courses, 500 tutorials. Why? The reason is because you're not applying what you're learning, and that is not a very good way to learn. So what is my recommendation? Build, break, and learn. So let's break down the formula. The first thing is to learn. Pick a tutorial. Now when I say tutorial, I'm not talking about the 15 minutes tutorial you see on YouTube. Pick a full course, something that is going to give you like a wide view of that particular thing you want to learn. Take it once, take it twice, maximum. The next stage is for you to build something with it. Now that thing you learned, try to build something with all of the things you learned from that course. It could be a pet project, it could be something that somebody has built before, it could be the stuff or like the examples that were put in the tutorial, but just ensure that you build something with it. Now after you've built something with it, try to break what you build. So try to change some things, create scenarios in your head and say, oh, what if I change this thing from this to this? How is it going to work? Try to change things. If it spoils, like if it breaks, ensure that you try to fix it. If you can't fix it, ask Google. If you can't find answers on Google, ask AI. But just ensure that you try to break and fix. This way, you do not just learn, but you're learning, you're breaking, you're also building. That is the better way to go about becoming a developer. Habits of successful developers. Now, before I talk about the reasons why you should reconsider becoming a developer, let me tell you habits that I've noticed that almost every successful developer has. Now, the very first one is consistency over intensity. Now, those guys that you call OGs in tech, they have lots of experience. Most of them, they have become that perfect software developer after years of consistent work. So they have put in consistent work over the years. They have been learning that particular thing for a long time. So I like to think about it this way. It is better for me to write code 15 minutes every day than to write code 5 hours once a week or once a month. Consistency over intensity. So do not just focus on doing a lot of things at a time. Rather, focus on doing little bit of actions that would later compound into something magnificent. Okay? So consistency over intensity. Second tip or the second habit I've noticed is asking for help. Okay. See, even the most senior developers still ask for help. They don't try to do it by themselves. They don't try to figure it by themselves. They still ask for help. So do not be afraid to ask questions. Join communities, ask questions, learn how to Google. It will save you a lot of stress. Learn how to ask AI. We now have AI. But then the point is, ask for help. That is something that would save you from a lot of issues. So in the early days of my career in tech, I used to have this very bad habit of trying to figure it out for myself for a long time. So weeks, months, I'm still trying to figure it out rather than asking. And then I now discovered that I waste a lot of time trying to figure it out by myself. So by the time I try to do it, let's say for a couple of days and it's not working, the next thing I do is immediately ask for help. It saves me a lot of time rather than trying to figure it out by myself for a longer duration of time. And by the time I have fixed it, I will still have like another issue. So please, the point is ask for help. The third one is to document everything. That is a habit that developers that are experienced have. So you see, when you have an issue with your code and you're able to fix it, document it. Your future self will thank you for it. When you have a new win, document it. When you learn something new, document it. You could document it online. I highly recommend you document it online or offline. Now, the whole point for documentation is that you want to look back and see your progress. And if you're documenting online, people actually also follow your progress. And you'll be surprised that people will start referring you to jobs even before you finish learning. So yes, please document. If you check some of the OG developers, you will go back and see that they had blogs that they had written years back. Some of them had YouTube channels that they had written years back. Some of them had contributed to open source long time ago. So please do well to document your process. In fact, document everything. So what do developers not tell you about being a developer? So let's talk about it. Being a developer is not always fun. The first issues that you may encounter are what we call bugs. Now, bugs are literally like errors that you have in your code that will not allow you make progress. And most of the time, you do not know the exact source of the error. So you're literally like stuck. until you solve the problem before you can move forward. Now, bugs are a real thing as a developer, and you're going to face a lot of them, a whole lot of them. So if you're somebody that doesn't like problem solving, you don't like anything that will stress you, then maybe you should not be a developer, because bugs are going to haunt your life. Now, the next thing that you don't get to hear about being a developer is burnouts happen. Now, not for everybody though, but if you're not careful, development is very easy to suck you in. You may just lose sight of every other thing in your life. You may forget your family, you may forget your friends, you'll just be writing code, you'll just be on your computer 24/7. It's very easy to get into that kind of lifestyle. Another thing is long meetings. So as a developer, you might have to interface with other teams like marketing team, like business development team, when you finally get a job. And those are long meetings that you just be asking yourself, can't you send this by email? Why are we having a meeting for this? Especially when you grow to a senior level, you tend to attend lots of meetings and write less code. I'm just giving you heads up that there is a future of long meetings waiting for you, especially as you grow your development career. Now, this is not particular to everybody, but yeah, this is a possibility. Another thing that you don't hear about being a developer is that getting a job is not a walk in the park. Now, I talk about how to get jobs a lot, so there are several other ways that you can get job quickly as a developer, as a new developer. But then getting a job can be hard, because companies that are hiring want to hire people that have lots of experience, and you're just coming in with single or no experience. So you need to learn other ways to make money while learning how to be a developer. And even when you now know how to be a developer, you need to still find out other ways to make money, just in case you don't get a job immediately. But yeah, there are several hacks to getting a job, landing a good job on time, which you should learn. But yeah, just keep that at the back of your mind, that you may not get a job easily, especially if you're not out there, if you don't have a good network, if you don't know how to network, if you don't know how to push yourself or sell your market, literally, if you don't know how to talk about what you're doing, you may not get a job easily. Now that you know some of the downsides about being a developer, I have to add this, that the highs outweighs the lows. So while I just mentioned some of the stressful parts of being a developer, there are still many rewards. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, salary is good, work remotely, you work for some of the best teams, fun work-life culture in some companies. There are a lot of good things that come with it, but just prepare your mind and know that this is not an easy journey. But I totally believe that if you really want something, you're going to get it if you do all that you need to do to get it. So if I can do it, and I don't consider myself like the most smartest person, yes, if I can actually become a developer, like I've gone through different stages of development, different career paths inside of tech, if I can actually do it, trust me, you can do much more. Okay, so don't be scared of the idea of being a developer if it is something that you really want to do. Okay, just make sure that you're staying up to date with what is happening in the space, you're learning as much as you can, you're asking questions, you're active in the community, so that you're not left by yourself. You don't want to learn, or you don't want to start this journey by yourself. If you're doing all of these things right, I assure you, you will not regret your decision to becoming a developer. I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you why you should be a developer, or why you should give up now and do other things with your life. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, please like the video, please drop a comment, tell me if you enjoyed this video, share your tips. If you're an experienced developer, someone that is planning to learn development, might just be in the comment. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.